Throughout my life, I have always struggled with authenticity. The work I made in the past was centered around my anger. I carried a deep-seated hatred towards anyone and everyone around me. There was no sense to it. I hated them because they didn't hate themselves as much as I did. I hated them because they were part of a narrative that I was not. I came to the realization I've only ever felt real when I compared myself or related my experiences to others around me. Up until a few months ago, I had not created something that felt true or honest in the way that I needed it to. It didn't spark the connections that I relied on in order to ground myself in reality. It wasn't until October of last year that I finally started to pick up writing again. My first poem, titled "I Got Good at Crying Quietly," was the most honest I've been with myself, and therefore with others. I have since created a system for creating art that allows me to say the things I hold back in my day-to-day life, or the things I wish I would have said to people in my past. I draw from a place I call my pit of despair. This includes things I dislike about myself, experiences with people who have hurt me, or anything that really makes me feel terrible. I then take specific things, phrases, or moments that have stood out to me and abstract them into broader concepts in order to make them universal. This abstraction of my experience is what links me to other people and makes me feel like a real person. This may sound confusing at first. Obviously, we're all aware that we are real and that we exist. But I was so envious of others that I had turned myself into an extra in the movie about my own life. I had used this pit of despair to wallow in feelings of pity, depression, and anxiety, which I love to do. I love to make myself feel terrible. But through my writing, I learned how to provide a conclusion and stop basking in my own misery so that I could create work that had a positive impact on myself and others. One of my poems, called Destruction, was a tool for me to fully understand the feelings I was experiencing. I wrote it in a frenzy after staring at myself in my bathroom mirror, feeling something I can only describe as gut-wrenching. It was different from my other works in the sense that it was more abstract from all my other pieces, and when I shared it with others, it provided an understanding of my experience. This understanding makes me no longer feel alone. Even though I'm alone when I am writing, when you read or listen to my words, it immediately creates a link between you and me, which helps me to feel less anger. There's this feeling. I don't know how to describe it. Some days I know how to live with it. I smile, I laugh, I hold hands, I share a tender moment, and the feeling subsides. But whenever I am alone, whenever I look myself in the eyes, it bubbles up, starting in my stomach, tightly gripping my lungs, crawling slowly into my throat, blinding my eyes, eating away at my brain. I wish it would let me go. I wish it wouldn't drag me down into places I never want to go back to. But it doesn't listen to my pleading. This feeling will never succumb. Thinking about it makes it bad. Writing about it is even worse. It takes hold of my words and grimaces at every sentence. I know it is not me. But after all this time, it has seeped into my bloodstream, infecting me with its poison. The sweet elixir of all-encompassing sadness and rage. The wrath of an untamed mind. It makes me want to smoke until I cough up lungs filled with tar and self-loathing, to eat until my stomach collapses in on itself, to bite my tongue until I have forgotten how to speak, to hold my breath until I am constantly drowning. There is a line between the two. It and me. What is and isn't. But the closer you look, the more you realize that distinction has never existed. The sinking feeling of existing. Seated at an empty dinner table, all places set. a meal gone cold. The only thing left to do, break the table and lie peacefully in the wreckage. Only then will the feelings subside. Writing is one of the few ways I've ever felt honest, both with myself and others. Even if what I'm saying is vague, when I'm writing, I'm able to generate a physical and emotional response within myself I did not have access to with the other means of expression. I came to the realization that I had to get the things I was making physically that you could see to elicit the same response. My first piece involving wax, titled Destruction Times 7, draws from the pit where all my art comes from. But by spending hours upon hours pouring hot wax into various molds, melting them down to the state I wanted them, and being able to present them in a clean, organized fashion, I was able to take control of my art in a way that I had thought was impossible. I was able to take power back over my destructive tendencies and create something that I actually liked. It allowed me to bring myself back into reality and to ground myself through the connections I have fostered with my family, my friends, the people in the art program, and you. Even in these uncertain times, I would not be reaching you if it wasn't for the incredible support of the amazing community ESACA has provided me with. In the midst of a global disaster, it is easy to disconnect with those around you and have trouble communicating with loved ones, which is why it is imperative to join together in collective solidarity. Regardless of how far away we may be, you can hear me. You are real. And that is a beautiful thing.